Praise the Lord, my beautiful, blessed souls. We are back, bruised and not broken. I'm here. I was off today. I was off got off yesterday morning and just trying to get myself together. So I was cleaning and getting things together, and I need to get ahead on videos. Today's the 22nd, so I want to do this one. We're in Dueteronomy 22. That's how I know. And so I want to get started. I want to try to get further ahead because it helps me. Although sometimes I get back and forth and I fall behind. We do that in life, and then I walk. Sometimes it happens, especially when we got a lot going on. Well, we need to make sure our time and consistency when it comes to the things of God, that we try to keep up with them. And it's like tithing as well, because you can tithe your time, these times that we spend with Him. So it's important. But yeah, I'm trying to get it together, you guys. I'm probably going to do a few videos today because I want to get ahead, so when I'm off, on my days off, I won't really have to worry, and then, meaning not worry, but be frantic about it. Trying to keep my word to the Lord with this. Stay consistent, at least one a day. And so then on my off days, I can do other things. But anyway, let's get to it. We're in Dueteronomy chapter 22. This one has a lot of symbolic meaning as well. So Dueteronomy chapter 22, you shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and ignore them. It says a lot just from that. I let you know where God's head is when it comes to taking care of each other. You shall take them back to your brother, and if he does not live near you and you do not know who he is, you shall bring it home to your house, and it shall stay with you until your brother seeks it, and then you shall restore it to him. And you shall do the same with his donkey or his garment or with any lost thing of your brother's, which he loses and you find. You may not ignore it. So that lets us know we are our brother's keeper, although they say we're not. You shall not see your brother's donkey or his ox fallen down by the wayside and ignore them. You shall help him to lift them up again. That lets us know where we stand. We're working together and helping each other. We're not supposed to be at odds with each other. A woman shall not wear a man's garment. Oh, wow. Nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. But whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. Now, we see a lot of that going on around here. And honey, this is going to be something. So we got two things going on. And okay, I had to write that down. If you come across a bird's nest in any tree or on the ground with the young ones and eggs, and the mother sitting on the young or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall let the mother go, but the young you may take for yourself, that it may go well with you and that you may live long. So, wow. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet for your roof, that you may not bring the guilt of blood upon your house, if anyone should fall from it. You shall not sow your vineyard with two kinds of seed, lest the whole yield be forfeited, the crop that you have sown and the yield of the vineyard. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. You shall not wear cloth of wool and linen mixed together. Wow, these are a lot of things. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her, wow, and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, I took this woman, and when I came near her, I did not find in her evidence of virginity. So this is the virginity thing. Remember, they were supposed to get married first and have sex, in the garment was supposed to be given the bed linens to show with the blood was on it from her being, no longer a virgin. Then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of her virginity as the, bed linen to the elders of the city gate. And the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to marry, and he hates her. And behold, he has accused her of misconduct, meaning saying, I did not find in your daughter evidence of virginity. And yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity, meaning the bloodstained sheets. And they shall spread the cloak before the elders of the city. And then the elders of that city shall take the man and whip him. Wow. And they shall find him 100 shekels of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman, because he had brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel. Wow. Now, could you imagine if we live by these laws now? Excuse me. And she shall be his wife. He may not divorce her. Excuse me. All his days. But if the thing is true, that the evidence of virginity was not found in the young woman, excuse me. I don't know what's going on with my voice. Then they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death, with the stones, because she has done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my voice. It is cold here in New York. So there's a lot going on. But anyway, if a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die. Wow. The man who lay with this woman and the woman. So you shall purge the evil from Israel. If we only lived by these laws, where would we be, people? If there is a betrothed virgin and a man meets her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out to the gate of that city, and you shall stone them to death with stones. The young woman, because she did not cry for help, though she was in the city, and the man, because he violated his neighbor's wife. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine? But if in the open country a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. So that's like when she's, I guess that's when they were engaged. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. She's committed no offense, punishable by death. But this case is like that of the man attacking the murdering his neighbor, because he met her in the open country. And though the betrothed young woman cried for help, there was no one to rescue her. If a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has violated her. He may not divorce her all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, so that he does not uncover his father's nakedness. This has a lot going on. Already a lot of controversy going on here, especially for this day and age. Because when we think about all the things that are going on, could you only imagine? So Deuteronomy 22nd of this chapter provides for the preservation of charity and good neighborship in the care of the strayed or fallen cattle, right, for the preservation of order and distinction, that men and women should not wear one another's clothing, hint, hint, and that other needless mixtures should be avoided, for the preservation of birds, of life, the commandments, the reputation of a wife abused if she were innocent, but of the commandments of the reputation of a wife abused if she were innocent, but for her punishment if guilty, and for the preservation of the chastity of wives, virgins betrothed, also, or not betrothed, and lastly, against incest. So this says a lot. Let's get into this, because as we can see, there's a lot going on in this world that God does not, want to be going on. Of course, this is the world we live in. Excuse me. I am so trying to get whatever this is in my throat taken care of. Give me 1 second. It is a little dark. I didn't realize it was that dark in here, so I'm going to turn the light on. Okay, so now we are going to get into these things. Because we not only see, we see plenty of what goes on. Oh my nose. I don't know what's going on. I may need to go get me some tissue. I don't have none in here in my throat. Ugh. Okay, so we're going to get into it. And let's see, Deuteronomy chapter 22. Summary is crafted in the lead, it's about protecting life, dignity, boundaries, sexuality, and community responsibility. Whoa, isn't that a lot? It's one of the most practical covenant ethics chapters in Deuteronomy, but let's build it out. It's a structured generational summary. The chapter is in one sentence. God establishes laws that protect life, dignity, boundaries, sexuality, and community. Hallelujah. And also responsibility so that Israel's lineage remains safe, honorable, and just. Now, wouldn't we like to see that? Narrative flow is clear and sequential. Protecting your brother's property. If you see your brother's ox, sheep, donkey, cloak, wandering or lost, you must not ignore it. You must restore it. Now, the theme behind this is a covenant community does not look away. It takes responsibility. So when we look at these things, it says, and it means a lot because they claim we're not our brother's keeper. And that was from Cain and Abel. But as we can see, we are. With anything that is lost, you're supposed to protect the well-being of each other. And we look at families nowadays, that tends to be a lot of the total opposite. But that's strategic because, of course, Satan doesn't want your family to be, something that is a good thing. Why? And he doesn't want it to promote godly lifestyles at all. He would always come and corrupt them. So married people, he would always want to have someone who's lusting and who's, sleeping around or, committing adultery, abusive, whatever it is. Satan comes to attack, but he uses it through people, remember, places and things, along with our thoughts, words, actions, because this is what, whatever our hearts are. So people who are full of lust, it could be generationally, but it's basically their decisions because they're allowing it to have reign and act, in their lives. Because although things are spiritual, we have to deal with them here in the natural as far as living them out. Because although you lust doesn't mean you have to just be sleeping around. So this, self-control is a part of the fruits of the spirit. So that's, a lot of what goes on. We're just using that I'm just using that as an example. It can be theft. It can be anything. It could be lying. It could be stealing. It could be any of the things that God says in any areas of our lives that we're not supposed to be doing. So that's sleeping with your brother's wives. That's, stealing from them. That's, if things are happening and you're not trying to help protect them and do things for them, if you're on the opposite side where you're intentionally trying to hurt them and their families and their lives and destroy them in any type of capacity, as we can see, this goes on a lot in families. And God is the institution of marriage. He's the institution of families. He put it together so that it would be a blessing to us. So when we see these things being torn apart and everyone's taking their part in it to tear it apart, whatever that may be, your friendships, your family life, whether it's your coworkers or your elevation, whatever aspect mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually is going on in your life, we have to take a deep dive and just look at it because some of it is spiritual, a lot of it is natural. It's a mixture of both. And we have to figure out which ones is which. Most things they happen in the spiritual before they actually, see them in the natural. But we need to take responsibility and figure out, are we going to continue to let these things go on or are we going to fix them? So, and that's community, that's covenant community, because a covenant community does not look away when injustice, when things are going wrong. That's with each other. Gender boundaries. Like I said, that says a lot when it comes to this world because it seems like this world wants that. They want certain people, places, and things, groups, races, male, women to be in certain situations and not ones that are, progressive, godly, blessed. But that's the world we live in today. So the gender boundaries, men must not wear women's clothing and women must not wear men's clothing. Now, I don't care if folks is in the church and pulpits or not. You see what it clearly says. God does not want us looking, mimicking, let alone sleeping with each other, acting like each other in any form, shape, or fashion. That's basically what that means. God protects identity and clarity and boundaries. Why? Because these are manipulations. These are situations where things get contaminated. They get mixed, and you start to think that they look like too much of these other things that God doesn't want. When men start wearing women's clothing, we see all this LGBTQ. You see God saying all along that you're not even supposed to look like a man, let alone walk, talk, act like one, want to be one, sleep with one, whatever, if you're in the opposite sex. And he says this clearly. So take it up with the Lord. I mean, protecting life, even small life. If you find a bird's nest, you may take the eggs, but not the mother. So now, when you look at this theme, it talks, when we were talking before about God blessing everything, the earth, the birds, when he cursed it, everything was cursed. When Christ went to the cross, he, everything was restored. So compassion and sustainability, protecting the source of life. And that's what all life, because God values all life. And so all life has its own, assignment, purpose. And this is why even with animals, even with everything that is here on earth, protecting life, all life, is something that God, he's for this because he's the giver of life. And so that's why we must see life as valuable and not as invaluable. I know Satan loves for us to look at it through his eyes, which is the opposite always of the way God wants us to look at things. And that's for a reason. So the next one is building safe homes. Houses must have a parapet, meaning a protective railing on the roof. The theme of this is you are responsible for preventing harm. So even when you look at this situation, and when I'm talking about this, even the protective roof, like slip and falls, all these type of things. When you look at this it's not just this, it's business, it's everything. Because we see people a lot like to do scams with business or identity theft, whatever it is. When we look at these things and we see what goes on in this world, this has a lot. Even your home. He says you're responsible for preventing harm. And that's in every aspect, okay? Purity in agriculture, meaning clothing. Do not mix seeds, animals, and fabrics. Now, we see the mixing with the Egyptian stuff, the Satan goddesses. You see half man and half duck or animal or lion. You see, God says, do not do these things. They are abominations. If God made a lion, he made a lion to be a lion. He didn't make it to be half man and half animal. So whenever you get to see these things, but remember the serpent, he went from being a serpent to being a human, he shapeshifts and do what he do. So when you think about the kingdom and systems of Satan, Lucifer, the devil, the darkness, and what they do and promote, now you get to understand why those hieroglyphs have what they have on there. Those are abominations. People say ancestors. Those are not from the God that I serve. I don't know about anybody else. Purity, distinction, and identity, because God does not want you to mix. Wearing tassels on your garments. Now, those was the ends of the garments. They were wearing the tassels. And it was a theme of that whole is purity, distinction, because you need to be pure in order to be distinct. And that it helps protect the identity, meaning knowing who's who and what. If you're a male, knowing that you're a male. If you're a woman, knowing that you're a woman. If you're a snake, knowing you're a snake. If you're a donkey, knowing, you see what I'm saying? Not being half donkey and half snake. Or half mermaid and half human, or a fish. And you see what I'm saying? So whenever we see those things, we need to know that those are the works of the enemy, because that is the splicing. And they love to do it. This is why they are so involved with the DNA and sex and reproductive and fertility, because they want to create their own world with their own stuff, their own way, opposite of God, which suits them, their agenda, to do what they want to do, because that's what they're into. They want to be a half male and a half this and a half that, so they can, and as I said, even with the LGBTQ, the pedophilia is going to come, meaning the sex with kids. And then the next will be bestiality, because we see it in the splicing of them wanting to have sex with animals. and reproduce with them, because that's how you're going to get the DNA splicing, is by having sex. So their rituals will include these type of things. Sexual ethics, protection of women. Here we go. This section covers false accusations, protecting a woman's reputation. Isn't that funny? Punishing sexual violence. Wow, isn't that something? Distinguishing between consensual sin and assault. Exactly. Protecting the vulnerable. Ensuring justice. And when we look at these things, from the children even to the animals, because you're not supposed to have sex with animals. Having sex with children. False accusations, big thing. Protecting women's reputation, big thing. We don't see a whole lot of that, especially our community. Everyone's running around here talking about who's who and what's what, as far as when it comes to who's the prize and who is not. As we can plainly see, this world has corrupted and told us being the man is the prize. As you can see, everything you see is the man taking care of who? The woman and the children. Even when it comes to paying for dowries, paying monies for them, this is what you see. So for all of these men who are women on the inside, we need to stop this, period. You are not the prize. If you are, then you are leaning more towards the other side, which is also an abomination. So when we look at these things, we must pay attention. Punishing sexual violence is very important. Distinguishing between consensual sin and assault, meaning if you willingly had sex or if you didn't, in times of when little girls are young. A lot of times, and I hate to say this, but we need to also understand these older men with these younger girls, although you may think it's not an assault because they're 18 and over, please understand mind-wise, okay? Because these are still young-minded, and that's why the attraction is there. They want the innocence of these young girls, and it's ridiculous, because whenever you see that, you see someone who's lusting after sex because she's young, she's probably still a virgin. Some of them are, some of them are not. They know that they're very impressionable. This is where the manipulation and the coercion comes in. To try to make, love bombing and all these things when it comes to these young girls, to get them to create that syndrome of worshiping you. And this is what most men do, especially when it comes to younger women. Now, there are some cougars out there, women who want to prey on young men as well. But honey, this is, it's manipulation. It's sorcery. It's witchcraft in itself, because it's knowing you know better and just doing what you want to do anyway. Because you're at a position, and that's community, and that's protecting, the best interests of other people, really truly having the motive and the intentions of not hurting and harming others, but to promote the well-being of others, because this is what God wants us to be doing. And all of these things, from false accusations, protecting women's reputations, meaning not calling her hoes and bees and all, punishing sexual violence and deviancies. Why? All of these things come in those categories, distinguishing between consensual sin and assault, protecting the vulnerable, exactly, and ensuring justice. Now, for my women, do not be doing these dudes on the same thing, on the same end, keeping their kids from them because y'all not getting along, their parents, other family, all of these other things, unless there's something really going on, like if there was abuse situations. That is different. But if this is just he got a new chick and you don't like him and her, and you need to stop that. That is so childish. I need you to put your big girl drawers on and accept the fact that y'all are no longer together. He does not want you, whoever he's with, or whatever he's doing, and whatever you're doing, you have to just leave it alone. Accept it. It didn't work out, and move on. You can't harass people, force people, make people love you, and using the children as pawns is ridiculous. It creates more havoc. It creates more harm. It disrupts the children. It disrupts so much, because it creates a situation to where the children have to choose of whom they should love, and they're supposed to love both of their parents, because it says it in the word. They're not supposed to choose which parent they're supposed to love or which side of the family. That's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to love in spite, regardless of. Does it say proximity, liking each other, being around each other all the time? Doesn't say that, but you do have to love and respect and forgive, and that's it. Sexuality theme is sexuality is sacred. It is, and justice must protect the vulnerable. But as we can see, that has been sexuality has been put on display from the porn industries to where we see things are right now. I mean, they serve those Easter egg fertility things, the gods and goddesses. So we see how that is. But it's an exploitation. It's a narrative that they built up to let us exploit and make these things what God intended it not to be and be okay with it. This is where the contamination comes in it, where we're accepting things that we should not be accepting. Why? Because God already said don't do it. But the closer we get to it and the normalizing of it they do, the more we sit here and say, oh, well, it's okay. Having sex outside of marriage is okay. Why? Because everybody's doing it. It's the norm. This is okay. Adultery is okay. Fornication is okay. All of these things is okay. Being gay, being this, everything's okay. But as we can clearly see, God says it is not okay. I'm not here to condemn. If people want to change, they can. If they want to change their lives around, this is what this is about, because God will meet you where you are. You can come out. You can, God will work with you, and you can gradually change into what it is you're originally supposed to be in Him. So that's all I would say to people. Now, responsibility is a covenant virtue. Returning lost property teaches accountability. Exactly. It teaches community care. It teaches generational responsibility. A lineage that cares for others become a lineage that is cared for. Now, this is what this is about. This is why you see old people dying and no one's with them and all this, and they talk about just the women. It's the men too. And it's about them teaching us to be a self-servicing agenda people, especially Black people. You never see it with a whole lot of other races. They work together. But when it comes to us, and I hate to say race because we are the human race and not, which race is something that man came up with. But anyway, we see that taking care of our parents, taking care of each other is a no-go. We're supposed to go and do our own thing and not be bothered. And this is a sad situation. This is not the way God intended it to be. It's not the way it's supposed to be, because each generation is supposed to move further and take care of each other. Now, before Social Security and all these other things, what do you think goes on in other countries? They take care of the elderly. They take care of their parents. Why? Because their parents took care of them. Now, you see a lot of people say, oh, no. Yes, if your parents took care of you, you should be taking care of your parents when they get older. Especially if they took care of you. So, and this is what it is. A lineage that cares for others become a lineage that is cared for. People want to receive things that they did not plant. So as fathers who was not there, you want people to take care of you in old age, which you didn't want a woman. You didn't want this. You didn't want that. You didn't want none of these things. So then when you get old, you get what you get. Women too. For the mamas that walked away from their kids and say that they didn't care, went on to live their life for a man or whatever it was that they wanted, a drug or whatever, because this is what happens. And when we look at these things, we get to understand. Now, it's not to bash or shame people, because things happen, because we all go through things. People go through different things for different reasons, and everyone has their story. It's not to say you can't change these things around. That's not what I'm saying. You're going to need God to do that with you. But it's just to make you look at it and understand it, because caring for each other is a responsibility that God charges us with. That includes the seedlings, the earth, the plants, the animals. We're supposed to be good stewards, and we're supposed to manage all of these things well. Be fruitful and multiply. The power, dominion, and authority was given to them in the garden to do so. So that means, how good of a steward are you when it comes to even things like that? I seen them, they put up a video today in New York of how the dogs, you walk down the street, there's so much dog drool on the concrete floor, the cement when you walk. And I'm like, why would you want your dog? And it's like everyone's doing it. It's so much of it. It's ridiculous. You don't even want to walk down the street because there's so much. Why don't you curb your dog? There's little, trees, things. Let them go there. Take them to the park, other places. Don't just bring them out and let them. And when people's walking up and down, they got to walk through all the dogs. And then it's nasty. It's disgusting. It promotes these other things that are spiritually, when it comes to cleanliness, the clean and unclean thing, you're bringing demonic forces. You're bringing, along with whatever is there already, you're just contributing more because it's uncleanly. It's nasty. It's filthy. And demons love to be in nasty, filthy places. So when you think about it, that's why these major cities is like, most of them be so disgusting. It's a lot of crime. It's a lot of hardship, lack. infestation of roaches and rats and ants. You go to these other places and you don't have that. And that's a spiritual thing. It's a condition. Okay? And you can look it up and see that though any type of roaches and infestations and bed bugs and all these different things, those is signs of some type of spiritual stuff going on. You see hoarders and all these, yes, it's nastiness, it's filthy. Cleanliness is godliness. So I'm just going to leave that like that. Boundaries to protect identity. Gender boundaries are agricultural boundaries and clothing boundaries all teach what? Clarity, distinction, identity, and integrity. This is what this is about. A lineage without boundaries become confused and vulnerable. Where are we? Confused. Folks is vulnerable, don't know who or what they are. And this is the problem. Who and what they are, whose they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it. Half the time, folks don't have any of these questions. They have none of these answers to any of these questions. Protecting life is sacred. Even a bird's nest matters. God trains the heart to value life at an entry at every levels. So when you look at this, if that's why they say, children who were, grew up to become serial killers started out killing animals. They had no value for life. This was in the beginning. There was something wrong. Little Johnny, little whoever. And so when you don't pick up on these things, it becomes a problem. When you see them being arsonists and doing, whatever it is, they want to set fires, they want to hang and torture, and there's something wrong. That's depravity. And even homosexuality in itself, when you think about the pain from it, because you couldn't possibly, there has to be pain in that act. Because that's not something supposed to be entered into. It's something that's supposed to be coming out of. So you think about half of the stuff that goes on. Okay, the blood and urine and feces and all that mixed in with semen, that's disgusting. But anyway, that's why they say it's sodomy. Because you're sodomizing. It's not meant to be, meaning an enjoyable act. It's a painful one. Justice for women like a punishment. And my dad said they're, everyone has these fetishes with these big booties, and all booties look the same. My dad told me this. And if they'll mess with a woman's booty, they'll mess with a man's, because they all look the same. So all of y'all with the big booty fetishes, you might want to check that. Justice for women is a covenant priority. Here we go with the justice for women again. Dueteronomy 22 fiercely protects women that are falsely accused, women assaulted, and women vulnerable to exploitation. There we go in a nutshell. Whether they're young, whether they're old, falsely accused, meaning, like I said before, they were supposed to get married before they had sex. This is what God intended for us. We do what we want to do. And the bed lendings after they get married and all the festivities, they go to the marital home and have sex, and they bring out the sheets with the blood stains to show that she was a virgin. So, and women assaulted, it even talks about him hating the wife, or getting to a point to where he hates the wife, because there comes times in marriages where these things go on back and forth. And as you can see, God speaks about that as well. We're going to get into it. Women vulnerable to exploitation. God builds a society where women's dignity is defended. It is supposed to be defended. But as you can see, we even see online, I think it was T.S. Madison, the D.O. Whisper, all these different ones. They're going back and forth about men and women and who's this and what's what. And to be quite frankly honest with you, because you got these men who are trans or whatever, and they always, have issues with real women. And that is a problem. I'm sorry, but that is a problem, because at the end of the day, you are still a man. Okay? It just is what it is. Doesn't matter how much makeup they put on, what they cut off, whatever they do. And this is for the women who are transitioning into men. Same thing. Without a womb, you cannot have a baby. But I believe this is what they want to do. That's what they take in the wombs. They're doing all these things. They're doing with the fibroids. They're testing and seeing because they want to do these things. And I was even told that the fibroids does like alien babies. Those are the ones that the demonic forces have, spiritual spouses have sex with you in the night and create all these type of stuff. We must understand, people be added about STDs. There's sexually transmitted disease you get from demons who can come and have sex with you as well. Don't let that go over your head. God builds a society where women's dignity is defended. A lineage that protects women becomes a lineage that is blessed. Do we not hear that? Not cursed, blessed, people. Blessed for what? Protecting the women, not the men. And it's not to say you don't protect men, but men are supposed to be the protectors. That's why they're built the way that they are. And they're supposed to be the leaders and the priests and all these things. And this is why women have their place as nurturers, the lovers. This is where our place is. So, like I said, they're switching all of that, making the man more feminine. And this has been accepted. Like I said, the mental situations that we accept is crazy. Sexual purity is generational protection. Sexual sin is not just personal. It's not. It affects who? Families, inheritances, lineages, identity, society, community. Why? Purity protects the future. When you look at all of these things with rape and sodomizations and all of these things, it creates so much heartache, heartbreak, dysfunction in the people, in the families. Divorce, all of these things. When you look, single family parenting, all of these things, the baby mamas, the baby daddies, when you look up all of these things, there's no inheritance, there's no lineage, there's no identity. Everyone's all over the place, not knowing who, when, where, what, and how they are. This is where you get all this confusion. Oh, I think I'm a man and I'm a woman. I want to be a woman and I'm a man. This is where you get all of this from. Because their identity is completely distorted. And when we look at what Christ said, forgive them for they know not what they do, a lot of people don't even understand that they don't know. What they do know is what they know. And a lot of times what we know is what someone else told us. And this is why we get into these things to where people just telling you whatever they want to tell you for whatever benefits that they're going to get from it. So you got to pay attention to people who tell you stuff. And it's mainly out of them benefiting. Whatever it is they're telling you to do, that's the manipulating part. They're telling you because they want you to do certain things. They want to get a reaction out of you. And that's the manipulation and sorcery of it as well. So purity protects the future. Remember, sexual purity is a generational protection. Sexual sin is not just personal. It affects, remember, families, inheritances, lineage, identity, and communities. What was the other thing? As well. Community and society as a whole. Now, safety is a spiritual responsibility. The parapet law teaches to prevent harm, to build safe environments, to take responsibility for risk, and is a lineage that builds safety becomes a lineage that survives. Why? Because if not, you'll get what we're getting, where most of these young folks are dying out so much faster than the elderly. And this is why the enemy targets the young, because there's so much that he can do with them. Okay. And we're going to get into that later on. But yeah, there's so much that he can do with them. One, when they do not listen to their parents, when they do not listen to elders, we get that the world has changed and they're older, but there's still certain, boundaries. 1 + 1 = 2 all day, all over the world, no matter where you go. It does not change. It is a basic foundational structure. Now, other things change after that, regards to it, but when it comes to those teachings, that's the foundation. And because we don't have that foundation built on this anymore, this is why we see everything is amok. Foundations are so important for anything. So like I said, safety is spiritual responsibility. The parapet law teaches to prevent harm. This is with sidewalks, this is with business, this is with anything. Say, even in our buildings, like where we live as people, do they clean up? Do they keep it good? Do they, is the people that are there at our job, do they take care of what is there? If they're making money and they're receiving money, are they doing what needs to be done? So take responsibility for the risk, and a lineage that builds safety becomes a lineage that survives. I'll lay a summary. Historically, property laws, gender boundaries, purity laws, and sexual ethics. This is what this is about. Emotionally, it's compassion, it's responsibility, it's protection, it's justice. Generationally, it's boundaries, it's purity, it's justice, and it protects lineage. Identity is Israel is a distinct and responsible covenant people, meaning they're supposed to be having morals and values, and their motives and intentions are supposed to be pure, not to be predators, always out being predators with everything that is going on, seeking, whom they may devour. That is the opposite. That's Satan. Spiritual life, dignity, and purity are sacred to God, of course, because that is like the structure, the foundation. That's how you protect and build and grow, Now we're going to get into this. Deuteronomy 22, sweet is crafted in the layered, generational, spiritually intelligently style or whatever. You have a declaration set. The declaration sets that states responsibility, boundaries, purity, justice, and lineage protection. Responsibility and community care declarations. I do not ignore what is broken, lost, or vulnerable. So just turning another cheek, seeing what's going on and ignoring it. And most times we get paid to look away. Why? Because saying something gets us in trouble. This is the world we live in. I take responsibility for what affects my community, along with your family and everything else. Why? We are our brother's keeper. We say we're not. We are. If not, why are we even preaching and teaching the gospels? If we're not, it's about your souls. My lineage is marked by care, not neglect. And this is why we must steward everything well. All of these things we must share what God has given us, multiply it in every aspect of our lives. God does not call us to be gatekeepers, meaning to keep things, withhold things. He wants us to tell and share why Christ came and he told us about the kingdoms of heaven, about everything we needed to know, because his intention was to love us and protect us, to guide us. That's what it is about. Identity and boundary declarations. My identity is clear, distinct, and God defined. I honor the boundaries God sets for protection and clarity. My lineage is not confused or blended with harmful patterns. This is why we gotta do the work. There's so much to be done. I mean, by the time we even figure out there's a problem, there's so much to be unpacked. And we can't let it overwhelm us, because at times it does. We have to allow God to help us and show and point us out in the things and areas that we need to work on as we go on. And that's all we can do. Life protection declarations. I protect life at every level, small and great. This is where no matter where you are, who you are, what you are, why you are, what's going on, life is supposed to be respected, because this is what God says that we are called to do. Compassion is supposed to flow through our lineage. We're supposed to build environments that prevent harm. And we really have sucked at all of these things. I mean, let's just think about it. Folks homeless, nowhere to go, ain't got no food. They're making money off homelessness, all these different things, whether it's sickness, diseases, whether it's drugs, whatever. Whatever. Purity, distinction, and declarations. I walk in purity, clarity, and distinction. My life reflects covenant identity, not mixture. My lineage is set apart for God's purposes. So knowing who's who, what's what. If you're a woman, you're a woman. You're not going to say you're a man to me. You're a man. You're not gonna say. Clarity, not confusion. Along with not lying and stealing and all these other things to get what people want, because everyone has their own agenda as to what they're doing, why they're doing it. My life reflects covenant identity, not mixture. My lineage is set apart for God's purposes, of course. So this is what this is about. Because when we think about God and intentions and motives and what we really want, it's supposed to be lining up with what God has and tells us to do. If it's not, then there's something a problem. We're compromising, or we're getting too involved on either end with certain things, allowing the world to corrupt us and allow us to accept the things that they have said is good and bad. Can't do that. That's the mixture. Justice, sexual integrity, and declarations. I honor the sacredness of sexuality. I stand for justice, especially for the vulnerable. My lineage is protected from exploitation and harm. And this is where we want to be with our life. With anyone we're dealing with. To want to see them win, to do well, to want their life to be, not one of hardship and disaster, disease, to want to see them do well. I hate to see people struggle. I hate to see people suffer. I'm just being honest. It does something to me. I know what it is, and sometimes your heart gets you caught up in things, so you got to know when to, and sometimes it's God, doing what he's doing to, they're reaping whatever. Boundaries and protection framework, a structured model for understanding Deuteronomy 22's covenant ethics. 1, responsibility as covenant practice. Returning lost property teaches, like we said before, accountability, community care, and shared responsibility. The gender boundaries, of course, with the clothing and stuff, the protecting of life, building safe environments, purity and distinction, and sexual integrity, injustice, sexual ethics, justice, responsibility audit. Where am I tempted to look away? Exactly. Usually it's when money's involved. People look away in a minute. As soon as you say money, up, never mind, I ain't seen that. See? Alrighty. What responsibilities must I claim? All of the things that we got to know the difference in what's ours and what's not. Sometimes we pick up other people's stuff. We got to know the difference in ours. Who in my community needs my care? Why? Because this is where being a servant, a leader comes in, where you're going to help where the help is needed. Section 2, boundary audit. What boundaries protect my identity? You got to go through your life and see, because sometimes we have to do certain things for that reason. People, places, and things may not be good for us. But boundaries have been blurred, meaning you don't really sure. You think, why? Because sometimes you think people, places, and things are there for your good and you're not really sure. So you have to wait and see how it goes, because time is the revealer. What boundaries must be restored? Meaning things you stop doing that you might need to put back in place, or things that you don't have in place that you need to put in place. Section 3, life protection audit. Where do I need to practice compassion? This could be in a whole bunch of different areas. Why? Because as human beings, we tend to get to a point to where we don't want to have compassion, because it creates a situation where we're soft and we're, giving and doing too much. We're protecting ourselves, and sometimes it could be a hindrance to us because we become hard instead of we're supposed to be strong, but not hard. And I think a lot of times in life, when we're protecting ourselves, we don't really know the difference in the two. And a lot of times they kind of both mix, and we're strong and hard together because we have to protect ourselves. And it doesn't let the love in. It doesn't let the other stuff in. But a lot of times when people go through a lot of stuff, that's what they do. And it puts a wall around them, but it protects them from the good, but also from the bad, but also from the good. What small lives or vulnerable areas need protection? Got to look at what's going on in our environments, what's going on around us. What environments must I make safer? We talk about the earth and the animals, all these different things, what they're instincting, getting rid of all the animals, the plant life, making it where we can't, grow things, eat things. They're stopping God's natural way of life for us. Section 4, purity audit. Where is the mixture in my life? What influences dilute my identity? Right? Because we could be mixing in our own lives in different areas and not even realize it. Things that have come to be so normal to us. What influence dilute your identity? Meaning same thing, contaminate you from being who God wants you to be instead of being who you are, think you are, what the world says you are. What practices restore purity? So that's just restoring you back when you are out of alignment, or you see things are not, where they should be. Then you ask God, God will reveal it. Then sexual integrity and justice audit. What patterns need healing? It could be a lot, depending on the person, in their own lives and in others. What generational cycles must be broken? Oh, there's probably a lot in all of ours. We take our time with it. Let God help us with it. Where must I stand for justice? Start in our own lives, and we work our way out to what we see around us. Who needs protection or advocacy? Same thing. When you see certain good things going on, they say, you see something, say something. A lot of time people, I remember the beginning of last year, I believe it was, there was a woman on the train here, and they put the person on fire, and nobody said nothing. They sat there record. I was like, how do you not help the water do something and just record? That's crazy. Integrated transformation, a journey from wandering, identity, purity, justice, leadership, protection, and boundaries. So this is God giving us the blueprint as to how we are supposed to live here. Dueteronomy 22 talks about boundaries and protection, from neglect and responsibility to building a safe, pure, and responsible lineage. And like I said, when we talk about these things, it can be any and every aspect of your life, whether it's your work, whether it's your, love life, whether it's your children, your family, friends, whatever. If it's, your business sense, career, your whatever it is you're doing. So we just want to pay attention to these things. But integrated summary, God transforms the people from wandering survivors into boundary honoring, justice protecting, purity centered, covenant leaders who build safe and responsible lineages. This is when we're talking about being in leadership, being in power, having the power to help and do stuff. Now, I see there's a lot going on with Mr. Trump, and he's talking all this crazy, wonderful stuff. And I want to see, one, the proof of it, two, because he has had issues with Black people in particularly. I want to see that change first and foremost, and have it not just be an outer shell, because this is what they like to do, play a lot of games when it comes to people. People will lie and manipulate you until they get what they want. So they will make you think in the front that they doing all of this, and in the back end, they ain't got nothing for you. So my thing is, we need to be paying attention, because everyone thinks they're up to something that's so wonderful, and God is telling them to do this, that, and the third. God could be, he's going to use it all anyway, but because of whose they are and who they serve for the most part, and what they've been doing, they always promise stuff. Empty promises, empty promises, empty promises all the time, and we don't necessarily see any of it. And I don't care what politician or whatever, they're in it to make money, to get their money, the political stand, all these other things that they have so many other agendas that are behind the scenes: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, financial. They have all these other agendas that we are not privy to. Okay, so please understand, amongst one another, they do what they really do when the mask falls off. And with us, they put the mask on and play their roles wonderfully. Remember, all the words of stage. They come and go, do what they do. So anyway, I want to let this one go. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. This is Dueteronomy chapter 22. I'm going to try to get ahead, because I know tomorrow I want to get ahead to the point to where on the weekends I don't have to... they'll already be uploaded, and I can just, do what I'm doing, because I'm trying to do some other things. And I don't want to, we got to have consistency. You tell God you're going to do something, we got to start keeping our word. A lot of times we don't, when we put it off and procrastinate and, delay and stagnate and backward and all these crazy things, and not obeying when we should. So it just gets to be a situation sometimes. And we let other things take priority, and God's things go to the back burner instead of being on the front. And of course, we need to have our own time to deal with him in our own personal lives, with our own stuff going on. And that's why we need our time with him. And we also need time just to relax and just to, live here and have a life. The other day, I took myself out to eat. Yesterday, I like seafood. I went to the Monster Crab, and I enjoyed myself. I just went and I ate, and I came back, and it felt good. For the most part, I'm isolated for the most part of my life, and there's reasons for that, especially around this time in my life. God has used it to be a protection, but I know that I can't remain and or stay isolated, because although you go through seasons of that, you can't continuously do that, because God didn't make us to be alone. And in order for your light to shine, in order for you to do, you can't hide out and think that things, you got to see what's going on. You got to go through the test to whatever God is building up in you to see if it's can stand the test of time. So whatever's going on. So you can't run and hide from it. You have to get around these things, and, but you got to build your strength up first, because you can't just run out there thinking, and being around the people that hurt or did things, and you hurt them, they hurt you, whatever. You got to gradually get yourself back right to the point where you can do those things. And God will release you. He'll let you know, and in the meantime, between time, let him cleanse you, purify you. Fasting and praying is a wonderful thing. I tell people all the time, start out slow, even with the fasting situation. You build yourself up. You can't just go, I'm going to do 40 days right away. No, you may have to do one day, or a 1 day fast, then goes next time you do a 2 day fast, and next time a 3 day. You see what I'm saying? You build yourself up. And you spend that time with the Lord, and you seek him. It's not going to happen right for you overnight. I'm not saying that it can't, but I'm just saying, a lot of times, God's timing is not our timing. He'll do it when he's going to do it, because we can't do it in our own strength. This is not about us, what we do or what we don't do. It is about us doing the best that we can do and giving it to God, and he's going to do the rest, because that's what it's about. us giving it to him so he can do it, because we can't do it on our own. And that's where the transformation, and whatever it is he's showing us to do on our own, we do that. And that, let that be that. So anyway, love you guys. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. We are boosted, not broken. And we are moving forward in the Lord always, not backwards, not delayed, not stagnated. All things work together for us in the end, no matter what. And we're going to praise him. So I hope all is well. And be blessed. And until the next one, I may try to get a couple out today if I can. I want to get ahead. Love you guys. Be blessed. And I hope all is well. Oh, and if you would like to donate to the channel, if you see in my bio, I think my Cash App is there. It would be a blessing to me and my family, but if not, God is always my provider. Like I said, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that others can see, maybe they're going through the same thing. They just got saved and they don't understand some things and they need some help. So be blessed. Love you guys. Later.